Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Keeping Me Up. I'm Shane. Uh, how's everybody doing tonight? We have a very special guest tonight, and we'll be talking about a great number of things from the fun to the very, very real. I know something that keeps most people up at night, to be brutally honest, is dealing with depression, whether you have a specific thing you're worried about or an overall illness that you're battling. It's something that's very real. And we have my good friend and very talented actress who's now on screen, Jessika K. Cruz, Jessica Christina Cruz. What are you going by these days, Jess?
Shit. Jesse, Dioza, Jessica, whatever anyone wants to call me.
All right, so this is Raver Mets girl fan number one, and
You can suck a dick. For that one.
for anyone who doesn't know our friendship, which should probably be everybody who's watching, we we bond over the fact that she's a diehard Yankees fan and I'm a diehard Mets fan, and of course she gets the better side of that deal because of all the pain I've had to endure. But she's lost numerous amounts of bets in the past, and had to wear Mets jerseys on occasion. So whatever. Anyway, welcome, Jess. When we first started talking about you coming on, we were kind of catching up. We've been friends for about 6 years now, and
Sick, man.
yeah, shit. You're still young. Now I'm old. So I met you when you were 19. You were working on our good friends Erica and Shannon brought you on from to just do a minor guest spot. Really not even a guest spot, just an extra really on my old web series called Stills, and then we just hit it off, became great friends, and worked on other projects together, and soon another project. But I digress. So we've been friends for about 6 years, but there was a time during that 6 years where the friendship, just as many do, they go in ebbs and flows. You contact each other and you don't, and that's just the way life is. But there was never any kind of falling out nor any hard feelings. But there were some things that you were just working on your life. I remember, and you're first, just before you even talk about any of that stuff. Thank you for coming on and being brave enough to come on and talk so openly about everything. So why don't you tell us a little about yourself and what you live with and overcome and face in your life?
Yes. Got you. Also, thank you for having me.
Yes.
So a little about me is, so I act. I'm an actress. I do spoken word poetry. Those are mainly the two things that I do. I try as much to be a mental health advocate. And I was diagnosed with depression at 20. Meanwhile, I'm pretty sure I've had it since I was like 13. And those years, the past 5 years, have been a very, very transformational. Is that a word? Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Transformative. And I've went through a lot of hurdles with that, just because realizing how much of my depression or mental illness has gotten in the way of many things in my life. And it hit to the point of, contemplating suicide, and thank God I didn't do it. But I got the help I needed, and I'm here now.
Well, what do you feel, was there ever anything specific that you feel brought it on to you from the early age of 13? Was it incidents or just a general feeling? What was it?
When I was a kid, what made it seem that, why I thought I had depression?
Well, just, yeah, I mean, what it felt like to you. Like, did you feel that there was anything that brought it on specifically? Or that it changed over the years, evolved, got worse, or came and went? Like, what was that like?
So, this is a great question, actually. So, I have both major depression disorder, and then I have generalized anxiety disorder. My anxiety, I knew that I've had it since I was a kid. Just from the signs, just overall doing my research of signs as an adult, as a teenager, and especially as a kid, I pretty much checked off on that list.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also, so how I've been,
Hannah makes her nightly cameo. Hello, baby girl. You want to lay down, baby girl? Go ahead. Don't get in my mimosa, okay?
Bowie does the same thing. But what was it? So, oh man, where did my train of thought go? So you know how I've always been sick, right? But I have like a lot of medical issues.
Yes.
So that was a very obvious one, just because whenever I went to doctors, they're like, yeah, we don't know what's wrong with you. It might be stress. But I was like, what the fuck? I'm not stressed. Mm-hmm. So that was a big indicator. When it came to depression, when I was 13, that's when I started to self-harm. And I self-harmed a lot. That's when I was very, very sick. Like, it was beginning to develop even more.
And was self-harm like cutting?
Yes.
Or other things as well?
It was self-harming. Well, not self-harming. It was cutting. Because that was the only way I knew how, like, anything to do.
Yeah.
Cutting felt necessary in that sense, especially at that age. Because, you know, I didn't get involved with any type of drugs. I didn't do any of that. Cutting was the only thing that seemed accessible and something that I could control, if that makes sense.
It does.
But that was the clear sign, like, that I used to cut.
So, how long did that go on for?
My self-harming?
Yeah.
Ooh. That went on for a long time. Like, I did it in middle school, and then I stopped for a while when I didn't feel depressed, obviously. And then it begun back in high school, and it was like an on and off thing. When I got extremely stressed, or I feel like I didn't know how to handle anything, it was, then I cut. And then, sadly, it's pretty much an addictive thing to do. And the last time that I did cut was about April, and it was once, and I was just like, and from the past 4 years, like ever since I got into the mental hospital or even in therapy, it's just now I see the effects of like how cutting, it just doesn't make me feel good anymore. It's just a sense of comfort where this is what I've known to do, that comforts me. But now I don't really contemplate it too much. But when you get into a state in which you feel that you have no control of everything, where everything is just, you know, hopeless, or especially why I did it was a sense of punishment. Whenever I felt like I needed to be punished from all the negative self-talk, then that's when I would do it. So it still goes on. Well, I'd say that just because it happened this year once, you know. So
was that this year? Do you feel that it was brought on by many of the same thoughts and feelings about yourself, or was it maybe more the state of the world and what everyone's going through with being in quarantine and being? I know you were away from home for a while during that period, and was it just a conflux? Because for me, someone like I've had depression a great majority of my life, but I never ended up cutting myself. I never found that release, or that, I don't even know what the proper term would be to say what it is or what that feels like, since I've never experienced it. But I never gotten there. So what was it about this year? Was anything different, or was it kind of just the same feelings that you had?
It was mainly about myself. Like, I don't necessarily cut myself when it comes to like external forces, unless it makes me reflect about myself and something that I don't like about myself. So I would say it was based on internal issues that I tend to always have, and they mainly enhance when something external does happen. So it was more about myself. So again, it's the sense of like negative self-talking and thinking about or telling myself things that I should not be telling myself in a healthy way at all.
Yeah.
It's more harsh criticism, and yeah, that's basically it. I guess.
What other ways did that depression, especially, I mean, not especially, but I know a little bit of this, but I'll have you, of course, say it or talk about it. Since the last 6 years that I've known you, which is, really age-wise for you, kind of the gateway into adulthood, just having had graduated high school into what society wants you to be, the college years, and just that journey of self-discovery we all go through in our late teens, early 20s. Do you feel that, what ways did the depression take its toll on your life and possibly your relationships?
Ooh, it took a toll. It took a toll. Still to this day, it affects my relationships. Like, there are some things that I always find out in new relationships about myself that I feel that I need to correct. And it's funny, my current partner right now, something that I was expressing to him is that with depression, there comes a sense of numbness. And I've noticed throughout the years that not just with my relationships, with everything in life, it's just like I don't express, or I feel like I can't express, or overall I can't feel what I feel like I should be feeling at that current moment, because it just I don't feel anything. And that's scary to me, just because I feel like I'm on autopilot. Where am I really meaning the things that I say? Am I really meaning the things that I say to people? And it's a struggle. But yes, it's definitely taken a toll on my relationships, especially with being people who don't have mental illnesses, because a natural thought that comes to mind is, I'm not good enough to be with this person. This person will probably find another person that is sane and normal. And that's a stigma that, like, I've slowly dismantled, especially because the people that I've dated so far, or at least the person that, the people that I at least, like, surround myself, most likely do have a mental illness, because that's within our age range. Like, it's, if you meet someone that's like 30 and below, they most likely have a mental illness that they are definitely wary of. So it's definitely taken a toll, especially with, you remember Michael?
Yes. Yes.
That relationship, I felt more than anything like he was my parent, or like some sort of guardian, because he constantly had to deal with me in my episodes, and just overall trying to dismantle all the things that I've told myself, or things that I was taught, and trying to rewire my brain into a sense of, like, in a healthy way, or a healthy manner. And especially he was there with me when during the time when I went to the mental hospital. So it was hard for him, and, like, I will always appreciate him for that. So,
well, let's talk a little bit about that. What made you? What was the catalyst, and what were the events that went to get you to seek the treatment that you needed?
To repeat that last part.
What are the events surrounding you going to the mental hospital, getting the treatment you needed? What was the final straw, so to speak, and how did that all take shape?
Got it. Man, this was so at the time, like a month prior, I was working at Bear Burger. Fucking hate that place. And I became a server.
Five Guys for life.
Huh?
Five Guys for life. I love Five Guys in my mouth all at once. You know what I'm saying?
You know what I remembered? Every time I go to Five Guys, I always think about how the time that you, like, fucking got mad at someone that they didn't dump fries in the bag.
Don't get me started on that. I don't know. I'm paying for that extra dunk. They make a special funnel at Five Guys for that extra dunk. Don't get me started on that. Anyway, go on.
So I worked at Bear Burger. I became a server, and honestly, I was so nervous about that, just because as much as I have defeated a lot of my social anxiety, that still comes up, So I was serving Upper East Side white-collar privilege fucks.
Ooh.
So it was I dealt with a lot of internalized depression, And I was just stressed the fuck out. Like, I was, honestly, I got into a few arguments or just, you know, I don't want to say altercations because I didn't fight anyone, thank God. But it was just, I always dealt with a sense of stress and tension at work. And it started making me realize, and I wasn't at school at that time. I don't think no, was I? No, I wasn't. So everything was like hitting me all at once, and I was slowly like getting really bad. Like, it was very hard for me to wake up. It was hard for me to even contain my hygiene. And I just felt like such a like a dragging energy. And one day I just didn't want to go to work. And I texted my managers, being that I was someone that overworked at Bear Burger, they let it slide. They were like, okay, it's fine. You don't have to come in. And I'm like, cool, I don't want to come in. And I just laid in bed. And then the next time my shift as well was like, hey, I'm not coming in. And honestly, even me telling them, they had to text me in order to. I wasn't going to come in at all.
Yeah.
And they were asking, they were like, Jess, are you okay? Like, what's going on? Speak to me. And I then just, at that rash, impulsive moment, I just decided to quit. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't want to go into work. I'm done with this place. And based on the relationship that I had with the managers, they were genuinely concerned, in which I appreciate. But at that moment, I just associated them with that job, and I was just like, I'm done with this job. And then I didn't have a job for quite a long time, and I stayed in my house. I did not leave my house at all, only for therapy, and sometimes I'll even miss it. I stayed in my house. My parents sometimes like really had to work with me. They're like, Jess, let's go for a drive. Let's go for a walk. But I just didn't. I did not leave. I bought Benadryl so I could just sleep all day. There was a whole week where I would sleep a good 10 to 19 hours a day.
Sounds like my cat.
There was constant thoughts of, I think I should hang myself. I think I should cut myself. I think I should overdose on pills. And it was every day of that. Michael would come to my house and check on me, or I would sometimes go to Michael, but I honestly didn't even want to travel anywhere. So it felt, if I can visually describe it, it's honestly not, I can't see any light. It's honestly living in some sort of darkness. And that sounds very cliche, but honestly, that's how I view that time, where, especially because I was always sleeping. Like, I did not care for anything. And so my therapist was like, Jessika, I think it's time that you may want to consider this option of going to the mental hospital. And at first it was going to be a stay-in where I would sleep there for as long as I could. But my parents were against that. They're like, no, we want to check on our daughter at all times, all the time. So I told my doctor, I was like, okay, fine. I'll go to a mental hospital just because if it fully functioned in my head, I'm like, yo, you've been really thinking about killing yourself. And I was honestly going to have a plan to do it. Like, at any moment, I could have done it. So they spoke to my parents about it. My dad came in for therapy, which was a very interesting thing to see, because within Latin American communities and overall, just as well as Black communities, especially the man, that you're not supposed to show any type of emotion. My dad stuck to that. Like, you could see he wanted to cry. And he was just anxious. Like, he didn't know what to do with himself. He was just like, well, it's hard that she wants to kill herself, and he's just there moving and he can't accept it. So yeah, that led up to it, and I decided to go, and it felt like school, because I would go there Monday through Friday, 9 to 6 p.m.
Interesting. What's that like? Because I know I was once hospitalized for. Yeah, thank you, Hannah. I was once hospitalized for depression and suicidal thoughts. Long story short, it was my mother was very ill the majority of of my life that I knew her. She passed away when I was 20, almost 21. Yes, Hannah. And at one point when I was, I want to say 17, she had run out of medication. She had hepatitis C. She had all these liver issues. Was a chain smoker. I mean, and she had become a full-out addict to Tylenol 4 and other pain meds that she had to take to survive. But she was also fairly homebound, but also the addiction mixed with her depression and everything that she was going through made it so she didn't want to go get checked up. So her doctor wasn't going to prescribe her any more medication until she came in for a checkup to see where she was at. She wouldn't do it, so he called me, and well, I'm not on a cell phone back then. That was 97, but at the house phone, he's like, call 911, have your mother be brought into the hospital. And so I do that, and she fights the EMTs the whole way. Normally in her prime, a gentle, peaceful woman, screaming, cursing at them, full out addict withdrawal. And I go in, and we're brought in, and of course I'm 17, so I have the social worker speak to me. And the social worker asked me, have you ever had suicidal thoughts? And at this point, we are living in an apartment in the projects in the Bronx that looks like an episode of Hoarders. We had just gotten rid of a huge roach infestation. She had no money. Benefits had run out. Somehow she still managed to borrow enough money for cigarettes, and that my mother was an amazing, beautiful woman, but that was one of her flaws, was that she succumbed to her addictions. I mean, you can imagine, skinny as a rake back then. I was 17, 5'11", and 135 pounds maybe. And it was a hard time. And it was a very, very hard time for both of us. And I was angry. You're 17, you're angsty, and you're just angry. And then you're sad, and you're both, and you don't know what to do with those feelings. And I don't know if I'm supposed to get better with age, but I know I wasn't good at handling back then. So the social worker asked me, innocently enough, have you ever contemplated suicide? And I was like, my answer was, well, who hasn't?
Oh, shit. Yeah. Oh, damn, boy.
So while at the moment I was actually pretty happy with the fact that my mother was getting attention, was as much as she was ripping IVs out of her arms, I was happy that they were able to sedate her and help her get the more up-to-date medical attention that she needed. I was ecstatic about that. But of course, I slipped that up, and before I know it, I'm in a gown with the police in the Peds ER at Montefiore Hospital on Bainbridge and Gun Hill, and there's a police outside my door 24 hours a day. And thankfully, I got out of there within a few days because they realized that I wasn't actually contemplating suicide or anything. But I know that, at least in my experience, it was a thing where you had to be on 24-hour watch.
Yeah.
So if you could maybe go into the whole, what the modern, or at least the treatment that you received was, where it was like working a full-time job or going to school, but it was in essence a part-time treatment. Could you talk about that a little?
Yeah, so I will always describe the time at the mental hospital as one of the greatest times of my life. Which people are like, what? And it was because, like, I was there with people that I did not fucking know, but it's honestly that we had we're all there for, like, a commonality. Like, we all have something in common. And it's one of the things that I found refreshing was when I'm having a really bad fucking day and I'm like, I just don't even want to speak to anyone because I can't even process having a conversation with anyone. They know. Mm-hmm. They just know, and they know how to handle it, where it's like, they'll ask, like, well, they wouldn't even ask. Like, they'll see and they'll, like, put a hand on my shoulder, and they're like, and they just give you a nod. And I'm like, bitch, you understand me. Got you. Say less. And that made me feel in some way comfortable. It was also it was such an interesting time. And in fact, like, I wrote a play about my day going into the mental hospital, but in a different version. Um, that means so much to me. But it was one of the most prime moments of my life where I'm like, I can get here, but I can get myself out of this. And there was different walks of life. Like, there's this, middle-aged woman with like 3 fucking babies, and she's here depressed. There's a playwright from London that was there. There were so many people, and I'm still friends with a few of them. And it's lovely to see them soar the way they are now.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I've seen them at their lowest. I met them at their lowest. And it was a mixture of a lot. It was like, I saw the tension. I saw the progression. I saw some happiness. Like, we've had some really good moments with all of us with each other. And then I saw the worst moments possible. So it was a very reflective moment. And especially I gained a lot of insight of things that I put pressure on myself, especially with mental illness. And one of them was something that we all had in common was we want to get better and we want to do it now. But something that kind of fixed it, or at least gave us, depending on who the person is, I can only speak for myself, is I will get better, but it will take time. And that's a hard pill to swallow, because those are the moments that make me want to cut, is that you haven't progressed at all. You haven't progressed in anything you've done, all that self-reflection, all the shit that you've done, and you're still here. And it's like a never-ending cycle almost, as long as you can try and break it. So it was nice also that I can get to go home, because my parents were very considerate of that time. They're like, how was your day? What'd you do? Lovely. I'm glad you learned that. And then they'll try to like get me out of the house and do something, because they didn't want me to just like go to the mental hospital and then go home. They were like, let's, and that year I learned how to drive too. So they're like, let's practice your driving. Let's do something. Not something so grand that'll overwhelm me, but they're honestly, props to my parents, because they're troopers for going through that.
Yeah, it's funny. In all the years I've known you, I've never actually met your parents, but you've told me how beautiful they are as people, and nothing can replace a supportive, nurturing parent that also is firm at the same time when they need to be. Nothing replaces that in the world, and I'm thankful to have had it, despite my mother's addictions and flaws with her illness. We're all flawed, but are there some? Well, actually, digressing back to something where you spoke about how at the job at Bear Burger, you said, right? Your bosses were pretty concerned and cared about what was going on with you, but you associated them with a place that didn't make you happy, is kind of the gist I got. Am I correct in my assessment of what you said? So were there any other associations that you made with people in your life at the time, be it your parents or your partner or friends or anyone, that at the time you tied to the negative pain that you were feeling?
Good question. Yeah. So before I quit Bear Burger, or actually during the time that it was leading up to that, I completely isolated myself from my friends. I hadn't seen my friends in a really long time. They knew what was going on, but they decided to keep their distance just for respect out of me. So when I saw my friends, when I thought of my friends, all I could think about was like, you have yet to finish school. You need to finish school. They're ahead of you. When I saw my partner, I saw you're not even well equipped to have a relationship. What's wrong with you? My family, all I could think of is traumas. Like, I grew up with a very amazing family. I do, but with any family, there are fucking flaws. And I had my own traumas growing up that I'm pretty sure that my sister, my brother, my dad, and my mom are not well aware of. just because, it wasn't something that was intentional. But for me, it was. It felt like it was, and it was something that constantly happened. And there are various things, like small things, but that manifested into something so big. That they didn't see it as a problem. They were like, "Oh, she's fine. She's like the rest of us. She'll be fine." But I wasn't. I'm very sensitive, and I absorb energy so much. LOL. Sorry. That's so cute. So yeah, there were certain aspects of negativity that were in me that were projected onto different aspects of my life. My job was number one, just because I wasn't going to school at that time. So the only thing I had was going to school and then coming back home. And a good friend of mine, Rebecca, she made me realize that I was talking to her about, she actually introduced me to the term of internalized depression. And she was like, yeah, you have to find something outside of your job, something that seems so essential that you need in life. You need other things that'll make you happy, such as, like, I now have spoken word poetry. I now have, like, even if I don't go to school, I still try and surround myself with artists, just, making something, for the fuck of it. Because those things help me recharge and remind me of the person that I am and how I am worthy and that I do have a purpose here, despite if someone were to treat me otherwise. Because that's what was happening at Bear Burger. It was more of that thing of, like, being told, you are shit, you're shit, therefore I'm going to believe that I am. And that's what it was with customers. Like, customers were fucking assholes. And the way I was being treated, I was just like, yeah, this is exactly what the fuck I deserve. And it was hard to get out of that mental prison, because I felt that for years. I felt that for such a long time. So.
Do you feel that there was any of that in those friendships, though, that suffered? That kind of like, you're a bad friend, you're not there for me, and so that pressure was put on you at the same time, or no?
No, actually. I have, like, the greatest friends. They're so supportive. Like, oh man, they're honestly like chosen family. Like, they're a tribe. They're aware of my mental illnesses, and when they heard I was going to the mental hospital, they did check on me, but with a distance. Something that a lot of my friends know is that, and something that I was actually learning that I learned with around the time that, I distanced myself from you and, like, other people, is that there are many times I need solitude in order to, like, check in with myself. So my friends are very aware of that, where it doesn't reduce any of the love or desire that I want to hang out with them and and be with them. But it's also, I'm still in the process. I'm always in the process of trying to make myself evolve, or just trying to understand the person that I am and change some things about myself. That I need that time alone in order to do that. So they've always, I haven't, I think ever since I got to fucking college, I don't think I've had like someone tell me that I'm a bad friend. Like, I think I value more friendships ever since I got to college, or at least like my third year there.
Are you still in school?
Huh?
Are you still in school?
Yeah, a bitch has yet to finish.
And you go to BMCC, right? Or
yeah, I legit. So the story. So I technically graduated, but I had one class left. They let me walk on stage, and I took that class in the summer. That teacher was a bitch because it was a science class. So I had lecture and lab. Lecture, she gave me an A. Lab, she gave me a fucking D or an F. And I was like, what the fuck happened? I was there every day. I did my shit, and she gave me some bullshit reason, and I tried reporting her, but apparently they backed her up. I don't know. So I took a break. I was like, I just can't do this.
So you gotta do one more. Isn't there a movie about this? There's a movie about this, I feel like, where someone's got to go back and do like one. It's almost like Mr. 3000, that Bernie Mac film where he hit 3,000 home runs, but he didn't, and he's like 3 short. 3 shy and he's got to go back into the majors. But I'm gonna ask you about baseball a little later. So going back to the hospital, and for anyone watching now or that will watch down the road or any number of years in the future, who identify even the slightest bit with your story, are there any exercises or tips that you can give that you learned from your time in the program at the hospital that you can share that is something that you can even verbalize in this medium?
I think one, because there's so many, and again, this pertains to different people. One of the things, I mean, the first part is just like, do I have depression, and admitting that? Do I have a problem, and admitting that? One thing in therapy that I always found very, very helpful is like a cheat sheet that she had. It was like, okay, what is your diagnosis, or what is it that you feel? Who are the people that are your main contacts that you can contact, so when you feel this way, that you most feel comfortable with? What are the things that trigger you? What are the things that comfort you? And it's not like, the reason why I say it's a cheat sheet is because if it's like a paragraph written in that form, then I'm going to get overwhelmed. So it's like, boom, boom, boom. These are the people that I, feel comfortable talking to. So when I do have an episode, or I feel like one coming on, I can use the contact them. If that doesn't help, then I go to do something that'll, help comfort me. For me, it's painting, drawing, writing, especially going for walks and listening to music.
Are those your paintings behind you?
Yes, they are.
They're beautiful.
Thank you. I think they're shit, but thanks.
or we're all our own harshest critic, aren't we?
Yes, we are. So those were one of the things that I didn't even learn in the mental hospital, but that's something that's required. Just because they give a copy for themselves, and also for people that you either live with, or in my case, they give it to my parents. My parents know what to do, and if this were to happen. I think, because there's a lot, something that they taught us is CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, which is basically trying to rewire your brain through repetitive exercises. So CBT workbooks are completely available in Barnes and Noble, or if you look up any CBT workbooks, those help. And although it is tedious, again, it's a thing of you do something for a certain amount of days, you're going to get used to it, and then you want to feel like you want to do it. That's how it became with me, because there are some people that felt very discouraged with CBT in the mental hospital. But again, I feel that's somewhat of the depression talking. But exercise is just that. I started meditating. I know people hate that shit. They're like, oh, fuck, great meditation. But it's something that helped me out. I don't do it as much anymore. I think I do that. I do a lot of that with just writing shit out. Yeah, I'd say the best thing I can get, because everyone is, it's based on individuals, what it is what your traumas are, what is that you think, and the list can go on and on. All I say is trying to find the best resources possible. If that goes from books, if that's talking to people who have depression, then yeah, I say that's the best thing I can say.
Who's on your contact list now?
And my partner right now is up there. I have my good friend Soli from school. I have a few friends from my work, my job, Kick-Ass. At least 2 of them, just because I trust them very, very much, and they're such close friends with me. My mom and my father have been up there for quite a long time. Just because my mom goes into a lecture, she goes into the deepest lecture, and she's the one that's seen me progress since I was a baby. She's the one that's been the main observer of Yeah, no, I've seen you go through this, this, and this, and this, and this, and I'm fucking proud of you.
If you didn't have parents that were supportive and stood by you and worked with you, one, how much worse do you think that would have felt? Two, where do you think you would have been able to progress and get the help you needed without them? Three, where would you be if you didn't have the parents you have?
So, okay, first one was...
How would it be if you... I mean, in essence, really, what would your journey have been like without the supportive, loving parents you have? How do you think you would have gotten the help? Would you have gotten the help, and where would you be?
Man. Honestly, fuck. I could have gotten here, but I think I would have gotten here differently.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm going to be entirely honest, I think where I am now, it would have taken a lot more time if I didn't have their help. Because, like, I have Dominican parents, so mental illness in Dominican Republic is something that doesn't exist. So when I first got into therapy, it was a lot. It was a lot to try and change their minds and convince them, like, I have a problem. Please, please, please recognize that.
Yeah.
And honestly, it didn't take until I admitted that I wanted to kill myself for them to, like, really realize, like, oh, shit. Okay, we gotta act fast, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I think, I think the person that they've raised me to be is just like, and I think it bites them in the ass sometimes, it's just like, I'm an outspoken person. I know who I am. I know what I want. And even if it differs from what they believe, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You know? It's my well-being on the line, you know? So I don't think I would have gone as far as I could have, just because I honestly probably would have moved out earlier. Probably would have moved out just to gain some sort of distance and clarity. Like, I don't have this energy near me that's telling me that, you know, that's not supporting me in the time that I need. So I probably would have moved out.
Okay.
Just to succeed, just to get to a place where I'm at.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was it like what was the decision process of realizing that your time at the hospital and the treatment program was done? Was it a set time to begin with, or was it we evolve as you evolve? And then once you did walk out for the last time, what was that like?
Oh, yes. Okay. So there was technically a set time, but that's like based on average. They're like, but if you're not here at this time, then you're probably gonna have to stay here longer. So originally, I think I was supposed to be there for 3 weeks, but I stayed about a month or a little bit over a month. And to be honest, I missed, I think, like 3 days, 4 days, because I was just so depressed I didn't want to get up. So yeah, that's what happened. But I think I didn't have a problem with that, just because as I was there, I started really reflecting and really understanding the things that they were giving us, or like the tools and the resources that they were giving us. And I was like, cool, if I need more time, then you know what, that's fine with me.
Okay.
The day that was my last day. So the way it also works is that once you come in, there are people that have been here for quite a long time, and depending on what time, and then you have people that are just leaving. So there's like a recycle of new people. So the last day I came in, there was like new people. I was like, who the fuck are y'all? You know?
It was like being a senior and they were freshmen, I'm sure.
Yeah, so it was just like, and it was, I reached a point where I'm like, I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be fine. And then seeing people enter the way I did, that was nuts. I was like, oh my God, I was where you were at. Yo, that's crazy.
Did that feeling help, though? Did it feel like I've crossed a threshold in myself?
Yeah. No, it definitely did. It definitely did. There was especially this older woman who's just so depressed, and she actually saw there's always this thing that at some point they're gonna cry and break down, and I had mine. Mm-hmm. I had my breakdown, and I was just like crying in front of people and just like was having almost near a panic attack. And she got so heartbroken over the fact that I was so young and just so depressed. And it made her start to like get an episode and start just like bawling. And I have this weird thing. Now, it's not weird, I guess. But it's this thing where like when I break down, there's always a thing that comes to mind that I'm like, this is a period of growth. And that I'm suddenly better. And then it's like it never happened.
Okay.
So I felt that happen, and that was a good sign that I was like, I'm gonna be fine. I'm gonna be okay. But it definitely did help when I saw those people. And the only thing that two things came to mind. It was gratitude and hope for them to reach a place where they can see past this. They can grow from this. Mm-hmm. And it was gratitude in the sense that thank God that I just gave thanks to myself for being I don't even want to say open-minded, but having some sort of strength to gain some sort of clarity and to really devour everything that was being given to me. Mm-hmm. In order to get better. And on my last day, they take you into an office and they're like, here's your certificate. You have graduated.
Oh.
And I was like, graduated, bitch, what? But it was so
That's
lovely.
Interesting.
It was cute. It was so adorable.
But I guess, is that like a way for it to feel like, it almost feels like, oh, that's weird, but then, yes. And then I guess it's a way for it to be where they're letting you know that it isn't something cold. You're not just discharged. It's that personal touch that maybe puts the cherry on the top. Maybe, I don't know. What was that like when you thought about it?
It was when I think about it, I think it is the cutest thing, and actually a cool way to go about it, because when the fear of like going into a mental hospital is that like you're fucking crazy, like you need extra help, and that there's something fucking wrong with you, you know. By the way, I can curse here, right? I like 10 curse words in. I'm like, I
don't give a shit.
But
oh no, YouTube's gonna demonetize this. Oh no, all my millions. And here I was gonna share it all with you. No, go curse up a storm.
But it was a refreshing way to go about it. It's like you've grown from this. Like when you graduate from college, when you graduate from like anything, that means you put work into it. So that's the way I looked at it. It was like, okay, I put work into getting, I'm going to say getting to be free, but I put work into like for them to realize that like she's able to, move on and go on her own and go back to therapy. And, I think they've declared that they're like, they can move on.
And you're still in therapy to this day?
Huh?
And you're still in therapy?
No, I got out of it last year.
Okay.
I do plan to go back. I definitely do. I wanted a little break to see how I was on my own, in which I thought I was doing fine. There was, of course, there's many struggles because I don't have the insight that I do from my therapist. Mm-hmm. Also, I miss my fucking medicine, but that's another issue. But I wanted to see how I do on my own, and I'm proud of myself for being on my own for right now. I do miss my therapist. Like, that's one thing. I deadass wish I could be friends with my therapist. Like, she was bomb as fuck. She was dope.
That's an important relationship. I know many people who struggle to find the right therapist. And just like any relationship that's important in your life, you get the wrong one, and it's going to do a lot more harm than it's going to do good. And you're not there to get more fucked up, is what I always say. So
that happened in the mental hospital. I've heard there were many people that are like, I had a horrible therapist that I had for 10 years, and she made everything worse. And I was like, what the fuck?
There you go. And you've had the same one for years? Whoa, what was that?
Yeah. She went on maternity leave. Like, I was like about to cry.
How dare she?
How dare she?
How dare they have a life?
No, but I was gonna cry because I was like, oh my god, I'm so happy for you. Like, I was so happy for her. But then I got like, someone that filled in her position, and she was dope as well. I was like, girl, you're bomb. So I definitely miss therapy just because like I really loved the staff there. Like they were so lovely. And yeah, and they were really on top of shit. Like my mom actually works in the same hospital as her. So my mom was like, I love how supportive my parents are. Like there are times where I got so depressed where I just didn't want to go in. And if they didn't see you, like after 3 sessions, that means you're going to give up your case. So it was about to be that 4th week where I didn't come in, and my mom saw her. She's like, no. I will make her go. I will drag her if I have to. And my mom was like, Jess, you're going to call her. No, you're going to call her. And yeah, they had a good relationship. Like, she always gave me consent. She's like, is it okay if I call your mother about this? And I'm like, go ahead.
That's amazing. So. And you said you miss your meds. Do you feel... Hang on, I gotta put my pussy down. Do you feel more clear, though? I know many friends that I've had that have been on a strict regimen of meds to help. They feel more like themselves without them. What's that like for you? I know everyone, it's unique.
So I sadly carried the stigma of like, if I got on meds, or if I got on meds, that means I have like a real problem, or that I don't need to have meds in order to like solve a problem with like my brain. But there was an older, like he was such a he was this gay, amazing white man, and I loved him till the end of day. Like I'm not friends with him now because I don't have his information, but I always miss him. And he sat me down. He was like, "Okay, Jess. So if you have diabetes and you don't take, are you going to take medicine or no?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "It is the same thing with your brain." And he was like, he sat me down and he was like, you're not going to lose you have nothing to lose if you take these meds, except your orgasms. And now I fucking cried.
Hold on. We cannot breeze over that. They fucked up your big O's?
Huh?
They fucked up your O's, your orgasms? They messed them up?
So, luckily for me, it did not fuck up, but it is known sometimes that it can affect your, like, sexual libido or something. So, for me, that wasn't the case. Thank God. But yeah, he told me that, and I was just like, I love you forever.
That breaks it down perfectly. I know, I love those moments when someone just breaks it down for you, and you're like, I get it. You're right. I got nothing to say back to that you defeated my argument.
Also, I swear to God, I've been lucky. I've been blessed. I was lucky to not go through so many medications to find the right one. Prozac was the one for me.
Really?
That's it. Fun story. Ready?
I'm ready.
So when I got my license, I was in the mental hospital and I already got my license beforehand. So taking the Prozac with the mental hospital, they always have contact with my parents. So taking the Prozac, they were like, it can either make her very sleepy or very slow, or it can make her very hyper. So what they advise to do is that if it makes you hyper, you take it in the morning. If it makes you feel very sleepy and drowsy, you take it at night.
Yeah.
I didn't fucking know that. So there are moments where I'm like, I naturally run on low energy. So there are moments where I'm like, man, I'm tired, bro.
I was gonna say, did it make you hyper?
No, it made me fucking drowsy.
It made you drowsy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yes,
Oh
yes.
man. Your reputation already precedes you to be like that person who's just like, man, I can only imagine.
Dude, it made me so drowsy. So I went to my parents, and they were like, "Just, you want to drive?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." I'm drowsy as fuck though.
Dude.
Yeah. So I don't think there's anything wrong. It really fucked up my perception a lot, and I didn't really realize it. So I'm driving, and my dad's like, "Turn left." I'm like, "Okay," and he's like, "Jessica, turn left." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, sorry, I thought I turned left." And right, here's wait, it gets
I would have been
better.
like, pull over.
It gets better because they didn't realize it either. So there's a cop car in front of me. Also, fuck 12 right now. But there's a cop car in front of me, and again, my dad's like, "Jessica, turn," because they're in the way. And I'm like, "Okay." And my dad screamed. He was like, "Jessica, turn!" I'm like, "Oh, sorry." And I'm like, and he's like, "You almost hit that cop car. Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fucking fine."
You're like, fuck
And I'm in,
the police.
wait, I'm in traffic. And my dad was like, "All right, just whenever you're ready, you're gonna make a left turn." And he was referencing when the light turns fucking green. It was red. So there's a car right next to me, and I'm about to turn, and the guy honks, and my dad's like, "What is wrong with you?" So as it goes green, I pulled over. I'm like, "Guys, it's the medicine." And my dad's like, "Oh shit. Oh, okay, let me drive."
Yeah, a little bit. Shit.
I almost got into 3 fucking accidents.
You know, the phrase "I'm glad you're still here" has new meaning because that's pretty crazy. I don't know. We have a mutual friend that when she was about to get her she should go nameless, but she was about to get her license. She never liked to wear her glasses, so like I would take her and I'd be like, we'd go to a window and I'd be like, "Tell me what you see down the block." She's like, "Oh, like a bear." Someone's walking the dog. She's like, "A bear?" She's like, "I don't need to see 100 feet in front of me." And while that has absolutely nothing similar to this, it just dawned on me, and that was an embarrassing story to tell, in case she's watching.
No, honestly, I don't drive without my glasses. Like,
Good.
my mom was like, "You want to drive?" I'm like, "I don't have my glasses, so you drive it. Sorry." You know. But yes, I've been very lucky with Prozac because something that was a fear was when you start taking it within your first 2 weeks. Honestly, your depression gets very heightened and your suicidal thoughts get very heightened. So that didn't happen with me, thank God. And it honestly helps a lot. Like, I never felt like I wasn't myself. It just helped me a lot. It like watered down a lot of things, and it's So there was this girl as well that I met where she's the sweetest thing, and she has a beautiful, vibrant energy. Sadly, I don't remember what her diagnosis was, but she has hallucinations, and she hallucinates people telling her to kill herself. Yeah. So that was very rough, and I was just like, "Fuck, girl." And she was like, "Honestly, I love my meds because I wouldn't be able to live my life the way I do if it weren't without them." And it's like always a thing of like, I take my meds, but it doesn't mean that I don't have to do the work anymore. Like, no, meds help, but they don't cure it, you know? So that was something that was a great perspective from her. Because those 2 people that they were really, I latched onto first when I first got into the mental hospital. They were really, really dope people. So yeah.
And so when you got out, you wrote a play about your first day going in, you said.
It wasn't like my first day going in.
Oh, just...
So it was... Okay. So I wrote a play called Condition of the Mind. And the play is about what if me and my father had our arguments, like we did have like certain debates about it. What if that went to the worst? Like, what could have gone? So I wrote a play about a girl who decided to admit herself into the mental hospital with a father who's very scared of his reputation and also very scared of realizing things within himself that he has with mental illness. And the mother isn't around. So it's her leaving. She's packing up to go leave. And the conversation that goes on between them. So it was basically what me and my father, one of our arguments, completely enhanced, and how it could have gone wrong entirely.
Will you
so
ever...
yeah.
Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
Will you ever produce it, or has it been produced?
So my playwriting teacher actually really fucking loved it. He really loved it. He put into CCNY in one of their festivals, and what my best friend Soli, she fought so fucking hard to get that play, because she was like, just 4 people wanted your plays. They wanted to direct it, but I was gonna let that happen. I was like, oh god. So seeing it come to life was so... I was like getting goosebumps, and I was about to cry, and I was like, oh my god. So it was lovely to see, but I would like I want to like redraft it, and actually, I don't know if I would like to make it longer or keep it as a 1 act, but I definitely want for it to be, performed again. As I guess again in theater, I feel like there's not a lot of POC or BIPOC representation, and especially about stories that need to be talked about. Like I something, at least within my acting or in my art, that I'm very vocal about is that there needs to be stories about mental illness and how much that's been suppressed within our culture.
Yes.
And this was one of the stories that I wanted to talk about, is just a father who's what means to be overprotection comes off as, a hindrance in her healing as a person, So, yeah, I would like for it to be produced in some way. Shit.
I'd love to see it. I would love to see it. So now that you are in a better place, you've been in a place where you can express your art, both in be it writing the play. What was the name of the play again? I'm sorry. My mind is...
Condition of the Mind.
Condition of the Mind. Whether it be writing Condition of the Mind, my apologies for not remembering that, doing your artwork behind you, your painting, or acting. And so... you have recently starred as the co-lead, or the industry would call it the female lead, in a new age, but that, of course, new age, the term brings to mind John Tesh and Muzak in an elevator, but a new medium sort of web series called Bodega Knights, which takes advantage of IGTV, if I'm not mistaken, to where the fact that you're holding your phone upright instead of landscape, and it takes advantage of the way the medium can be used in that way, be it split screen or or profile, whatever it might be. So tell us a little about Bodega Knights and how you got into that, and we'll have some images up on the screen as you talk about it.
Cool. So Bodega Knights was written by my good friend Miguel Ortiz, who's fucking mastermind. Love him so much. He's so creative. And it was directed by both him and one of our other friends, Ashton Cox. And we call him Ash. So Bodega Knights is thank God we're all nerds, because because I felt like that's where it derived from. It's about a very young woman and young man that get themselves into some shit because of my character, and basically it is like almost they're vigilantes, where they want to control crime or at least fight it off. But then things become like there's tension that comes about with the two lead characters as one has one intention of reflecting their anger off of what's happened to them, and taking it out on these people in a way where my character doesn't agree with,
Mm-hmm.
So, and you see their relationship evolve, and I can't wait for season 2 whenever that shit's gonna come. But yeah.
And so, well, not to continue, your Bodega Nights is featured on an Instagram page called the Telly Channel. Can you tell us about how that came to be? Or how that relationship between show and channel?
The Telly Channel, it consists of a lot of writers, directors, producers, in which they're pretty much like their own little organization where they want to put on if someone wants to make something, they're like, yep, we have the resources, boom, 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 we have the people, boom. We interchange it, and they also very interchangeable about who they want to work with. Like after I did Bodega Nights, I was in an episode of another show called What the Fuck Do I Know?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever seen that yet. So it's not like episodic in the sense where there's a storyline. It's about women that, how would I say this? They go on a tangent or a rant of historical facts that pretty much pertain to their current life. So example, mine was, I talked about Jackie Tonawanda, she was a professional black boxer, and her struggle in becoming a legalized, professional boxer. And how that reflected to my character situation was that I was getting hit on a bar, and I was getting harassed by someone, and they really thought that I wasn't going to fuck them up, which I did. So, yeah, it was a lovely show. And then they're very creative. That's a very creative group. Just because, again, you have writers, you have a lot of directors, you have the producers, you have cinematographers. So they created their own little group in which they can produce and write and anything that they want, and they all have like the same drive of what to do. So it was lovely being a part with them. And I first was somewhat introduced to it. I don't want to say it was Bodega Nights, but I want to say I worked with Miguel before because he had a series of, what the fuck is it called? Oh, damn, I forgot. But it was basically, so like Humans of New York, correct?
Yes.
He created his version of it in the sense where something that someone went through in their life that was pretty transformative, and man, I need to find it, but because I'm not explaining this correctly. But it's 30 seconds something, where you have 30 seconds of someone telling a story about something and how it was transformative to them. Mm-hmm. Mine was about empathy, and I spoke about how, relating back to mental illness, I had a 5th grade teacher completely took out his anger out on me just because I my social anxiety didn't make me answer a question that he wanted to hear, and he went like on what felt like forever, but it was probably like an hour and a half tangent of how stupid I was. And I later found out in therapy, actually, from my mother, that he had bipolar disorder. So after I found that out, I was like, okay, I empathize with this entirely. Mm-hmm. Got it. So that was my end, but he has a bunch of videos of a bunch of people just saying something about themselves in their lives that was transformative within 30 seconds. So that was my introduction to the Telly Channel. So yeah.
Yes, and I will say from a strictly fan standpoint, I remember when you first. I don't remember the exact moment, but I know that I found Bodega Nights, for myself personally, via your post on Instagram, and I was like, all right, let me check out what Jess is up to. It's good to see her acting again and whatnot. We hadn't worked together a number of years, and I was very impressed. I'm, me being an independent, very indie filmmaker and web series director and producer and writer. I am very judgmental of other people's productions. That's not to say that by any means my productions have been top notch with regards to the technical side. They have not been. So while judgmental, I'm also forgiving of things. Specifically, and we had this conversation the other day, audio. Audio is one of the hardest things to get right, to be done in a quick turnaround with no money, no budget, that's difficult. One, from the technical aspect alone, just to start there, Bodega Knights is, for the level that it's on now, a tour de force. There's one scene. Anyone who watched Daredevil, not the movie, not the shitty Ben Affleck's movie, the Charlie Cox Daredevil, knows of their oneers that aren't really oneers, that are really numerous cuts spliced together to look like oneers. And this series, I forget if it was episode 5 or 6, whatever it might have been. There's a rooftop fight sequence that, while you can see the flaws in it if you have the eye for it, it doesn't take you out of it. The cinematography of this show, the fact that they took advantage of short storytelling. How many episodes? It was 8 episodes, right? 8 episodes that range from, 4 or 5 minutes to upwards to 10 maybe. I forget exactly what it is. It's been months, if not almost a year since we've seen it, since it came out. But they took advantage of all the, yes, Hannah, she likes it too. All the new way of storytelling to grab the short attention span theater on Instagram, on social media, and to do it with style and panache and no budget. And the cinematography, I have an image up now of just when the lead actor flips one of the other guys on his back, and that is a oneer, and it is a brilliant shot, and the show is shot brilliantly. Beyond that, they have a great villain, fucking Gloria, who this old man right here crushed hard on Gloria watching that show. And I just wish there had been more of her in the show. The actress is brilliant. The character is brilliant. Everyone was great. You could see where certain people were a little more green in their experience. You could see where, you can expect the story to go one place and it goes another place. But all in all, the acting, the writing, the directing, the story, the cinematography, every aspect of this, for the kind of web series that it is more than the sum of its parts, and I truly, truly recommend it to anyone out there. It's called Bodega Knights. It's on the Telly channel on Instagram. Please follow them and check it out. And there's a ton more amazing things on the Telly channel than just Bodega Knights, as Jessica was talking about. But it is worth your time, and it won't take that much of your time to watch. And I am depressed that obviously this is one of the most minor concerns there is out there in the world right now, but that the current situation of the world, the current state, is delaying season 2, I'm sure. But it is something that it is an arrival statement for the filmmakers and everyone involved, both in front of and behind the camera, that I can only hope will get noticed, because it is a excellent series. And I don't really go for that kind of like vigilante, not mob, but not gang, but not this, not that. That's not the kind of stuff I usually gravitate towards. So it captured my imagination, and every week, except for maybe 1 week when I got tied up, I was texting Jess. I was like, all right, I just watched it. And I would have these like paragraph reviews of it. And, when season 2 comes out, I'll be on here reviewing every single episode. And I hope I would love to get some more folks on there, maybe do a panel of the minds behind it when season 2 comes out, or to promote it. It's, I can't wax more eloquent about it. Bodega Knights is definitely worth checking out. And Jess is brilliant in it. And she's a multi-layered performance. And everything was great about that show.
Thank
Yo, thank you. So kind of going back to, you know, what we were talking about before, that you know, Bodega Nights is something that you have done post hospital, post a lot of the work that I mean, obviously the work continues, it'll always continue, but getting to a certain place where you feel like you've gotten to a good place. Now, how does that been reflected in daily life with your relationships, not just of love, romance, sex, whatever it might be, but of friendships, of reconnecting, of work, of school, whatever it might be? Like, do you feel, was it hard almost going back to your old life?
In a sense, it was hard, especially because my therapist warned me. She was like, Jess, you definitely bite off more than you can chew, which I did. I honestly did. Like, when I went back to school, I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a full-time student, have a job. And I was also running an improv group at my college. And I really had to take those things into consideration. I was like, I got to slow down. And, yeah. And, yeah, I had to take a break from acting for a bit. I definitely did. Because, so I went to the mental hospital in 2017. Beginning of 2017, I did a show that overwhelmed me emotionally. And honestly, I'd say that was like the start of like something crumbling. So when I got help and I got whatever I did, my friends knew about it, and I'm like, I'm going to go back to school, da-da-da. They're like, cool, we're happy for you. We're here for anything. So once I felt myself going back to a place where I'm like, I'm fine now. I can do whatever I want. I'll take precautions. I skewed. Become a part-time student to, like, you know, compensate with what I need, like getting my education, but also giving myself time to giving myself the pace that I needed to finish school. And then in December, I got hired at Kickaxe. And by that time, I had reflected a lot about myself, of like things that I wanted to take ownership in, things that I wanted to renew about myself or discover, and things that I still needed to work on. And then coming up till now, things that I've definitely learned since in the past 3 years is that I really learned the value in so many things. I really learned value within myself. As much as I am hard on myself, I will say this. I'm a very insecure person. A lot of people find that surprising just because of how I come off. But it doesn't take away the confidence that I have of myself. I know I'm going to fuck up. I know there are things I still need to work on. That doesn't make me in any way less than. And I started doing things that I genuinely wanted to do. Like, I don't know if I told you about, like, my relationship with visual arts. Did I?
No.
So before high school, like, my mom and my sister were pressuring me to, like, go to visual arts school. So, like, LaGuardia, art and design, because I used to draw back then and I drew very well. Not now. I'm dead ass not. I ain't shit. But visual arts is something that I love to do for myself, not for anyone. So I failed my art design audition on purpose, and I didn't show up to my LaGuardia audition. Just because I wanted to make a point of, like, if I wanted to do this, I'll fucking do it. But I like doing this for myself, not as a career. I found I've rediscovered my love for just painting or just drawing, and realized how much I put pressure on myself to, like, make masterpieces. But really, it's like I'm doing this shit so I can express myself. That's it. And same thing with spoken word poetry. I started doing spoken word poetry about, like, 3 or 4 years ago. And it was because, like, my friend knew that I wrote, and my friend Rebecca that I mentioned earlier, she's a tremendous spoken word artist. And we were supporting one of the cafes that she like helps host or is a part of. And I decided to perform there, and I was like, oh, that's right, yeah, I used to write poetry, and I actually really fucking like this. So then that's something that continued, and that was another comfort that I had, because that community is very, very supportive. Very supportive. And also, Alex, my castmate in Bodega Knights, also is a rapper and does spoken word poetry, so he introduced me to another community of people that are just so supportive that I fucking love. So yeah, going back to my normal life was like very interesting. It was very hard just because now everything that they taught me in the mental hospital, I have to implement this into my real life. And that was a bit intimidating, but honestly, I had the support that I needed.
And what was it like? I mean, obviously, I'm sure it was different per person, but say when we reconnected, or when you reconnected with other mutual friends that we have, what was that? Was there fear around that? Was there doubt? Or was it just, I am now able to give people the best version of myself?
It's funny because there was a sense of fear. Just because you and the people that I was around saw me, you guys knew me at like, I don't want to say at my worst, but I just wasn't in the place where I am now. And I just needed time away. So when I reconnected, it felt good, but it also, it felt good, but it also, there was a sense of fear. There was a sense of fear of like, what if they don't understand what it is that I'm going through? You know, I had the power to remove myself or eject myself from someone's life, but does that mean that they want to accept me back now? You know? So that's something that I was very wary of, and something that I had to accept was that if they don't want me in their life, or if they don't want to reconnect, that is okay. That is okay. It's just one of those things of like the questions prior that you asked was, you know, had my depression affect certain relationships, and it definitely fucking did. It definitely did. There are some like moments that I can't take back. There are some relationships that like kind of fell that I couldn't take back, but that's honestly part of the process. At that moment, I felt it was right to do, and I don't regret it. You know, I honestly let the universe decide that for me. But yeah, there was definitely a sense of fear, but then at the same time, I'm a person who was just like, what the fuck do I have to lose? You know? So there was definitely a sense of fear.
Well, I'm glad. I was glad when you reached out to me and we connected again. And, you know, we haven't seen much of each other because, you know, especially the state of the world right now. But, you know, just to have you on here and be working with you again on another project it feels like home, because, you know, you're family and I love you and I adore you, and, you know, we while it's been 6 years, and really I guess in a way you can almost say it's like 3 years almost, because there was such a gap of time of really communicating on a regular basis. There's always been, you know, a true friendship there, and I'm just glad that my friend got and saw and was open to and healed from everything that she had to, and she, of course, being you. So I'm thankful for that. And you know, people, and I know from my own psychosis about things, if I don't feel like I'm worth shit to myself, I'm not going to be able to give anybody else anything.
Yeah.
And when it's on such a amplified, for lack of a better term, basis as what you live with, you know, you had to be your best for yourself, and then everyone comes next. And I'm happy for you, and I'm proud of you, and I'm thankful for it, and I'm glad you're still here, and I'm glad you're the best version of you. I truly am.
Thank you.
I was gonna talk to you about Black Lives Matter and our baseball predictions and all these things, but we're almost at an hour and a half. So I would love to invite you on very soon, the next week or two, to come back and talk about some other things, because Jess is. Anyone who follows us knows how outspoken we both are on the internet about the state of this world and this country,
Yes.
and what's going on with, from COVID to the presidency to Black Lives Matter to indigenous rights, and on and on and on. And that'll be another hour and a half, if not longer, discussion. But I think for tonight we'll wrap it up here, and we'll keep it to talking about what you went through and what you faced, and your healing process. And that's really, I like to look at it as that's what it is. It was a healing process. And of course, your work on the tremendous show Bodega Knights. And I don't want to cut you off. If you have anything else to add, the mic is yours.
Honestly, I feel like there's not much to say. I know especially right now during quarantine, people have felt depression. Even if you haven't been diagnosed, you felt it. And trust me, you're not the only one. And there are hotlines. There are people that you can really talk to. There are resources that you can have. Not the only person. And that's not to say in a way where it's like, what you feel doesn't matter. It's more of, no, there's a person that can relate to you. Also, watch Bodega Knights.
Yeah, and if you have, I don't know if you have any links, Jess, to hotlines and resources you recommend. Both, obviously, I'll put the Bodega Knights links in the description post stream. But anything you have, I will add in 24 hours when this stream actually becomes like processed by YouTube. Any outlets for mental health and places that anyone who wants help, needs help, can get help. We'll put in there.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I mean, thank you. Thank you for being so open and so forthcoming, and just giving us your journey. It's not. I know you're an open book. You're someone who does not shy away from the spotlight, and from hopefully helping somebody with your story. And I trust that even if it's not in the immediate future, as this thing is on the internet for years to come, for eternity, someone will hear it, and you will help at least one person, if not many. And I am just glad you're here, and I love you, and thank you for coming on here and telling us just a small part of your story, of a larger story. And yeah, definitely please come back, and we'll talk about everything else going on.
Oh, I have to write down, I'm going to write down post-its of what the fuck do I want to talk about this?
Please do. Yeah, we just open mic night, so to speak. But yeah, so thank you anyone who watched, and anyone who will watch. Please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon. And if you don't do all those things, just thank you for tuning in, and be good to each other. Thank you, Jess. And fucking go to sleep, people.
Chill, no.
All right.